Hi, I'm Steve from Nearly Wild, and today I'm here with
Glen Lloyd from Gate Farm and Daisy Bank Dairy.
Gate Farm and Daisy Bank Dairy. Now, Glen, we've been having a really interesting chat about some of the stuff you do, but can you tell us a little bit about how you farm? Because you farm a little bit differently.
Yeah, okay, so we're here in mid-Wales. Gate Farm is just above a little village called Llandysol.
Yeah.
We're farming 250 acres owned. We rent a further 100 acres rented in from local farmers. We converted in 2014, or begun our conversion into organic.
Right.
We were a fairly intensive midway indoor system with Holstein cows, which was inherited from my dad's farming practices. We were growing 70 acres of maize, and the cows were in most of the time. They'd go out, and it wasn't paying. We were playing the commodity market, and it wasn't working for us. And that's when I decided, when I left college, that we'd slow things down, try and get off the hamster wheel and look at improving our market, improving our farming practices, and work as a whole. I suppose a whole system approach, I suppose, to building healthier land, healthier animals, and an improved way of life, really. And it's working.
So one of the things, we were talking about this earlier, and I think something you were talking around how you farm, and it was almost like you farm with the system, so the land and the system, the ecological system that's there, and you're working with that to produce, in this case, milk and so right. forth, as opposed to bringing in lots of inputs. So you're using the system to be productive, without trying to manipulate massively by bringing stuff in externally.
Yeah. So how we're doing that is, we're, as a system approach, I think everything works in a balance. Everything works together. We need to have, as I was discussing before, we need to have healthy stock. The core of our business is farming and selling milk. So we need to be selling a product. But the idea of just taking the pressure off everything, so reducing our inputs, our bought-in feed, completely cutting our fertilizer usage and pesticides usage, with the view of creating a healthier plant for the cows to graze, a healthier soil, and then in turn a healthier product for people to drink and enjoy through organic milk. And the idea financially is to take the pressure off, is to reduce the bills, reduce obviously all the whole host of bills that come in with intensive systems, but also all them bills which we weren't realising was actually for us making the animal less healthy, and it was the more inputs we were putting in, vet and med, fertiliser, it was actually creating a less healthy animal. So it was a hamster wheel going forward that we needed to just keep pumping money in, and the view of then was it was a big conversation in 2014. We either get bigger, and I mean drastically bigger, and intensify even more. And we were talking about 300 or 400 cows on our 250 acre farm, putting more sheds in. But we couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. The milk price was at 14p. So we were having to go faster and faster and faster and faster. And we completely took the foot off the gas. Just took the foot off the gas, slowed it down. And we drew up a plan. We drew up a plan with our consultancies at the time. Completely gone out of maize, grass, red clovers, and just slowed the cows down. We took the cows down from 9,000 litres a year average, or just over, and we're running about 6,500 litres a cow now. So we've completely reduced that down and reduced the pressure. And it, not only is it law with the organic system that they have to graze, but also it's so much nicer for us that cows are able to go out and graze, and it's just creating a healthier animal, and in turn a healthier plant, and obviously a healthier milk. Yeah,
so it's really interesting because in effect you've also taken back control of your farm, because you're not having to pay out for all those things that are outside of your farm, your control. So you've brought the system back in ecological sense together,
Yeah.
but thinking of you as part of that ecology as well, you've kind of now got better control almost of what you're
100%, 100%.
and in that sense, and then you've got the Daisy Bank Dairy.
Yeah.
And I just want to hear a bit more about that, because I think it's really interesting the way you've then taken that into the commercial side of, or the other part of the commercial side of what you do.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we've skimmed over the farm side really.
No, yeah.
I could talk for hours and hours and hours. We've really skimmed over it, but the idea of that whole system, the whole system was we're building a story for, not only is it my young family coming through, the family that was before me that was farming here, we're building that story. I just felt that although the organic company that we sell our milk to are brilliant, they're great at telling our story, they're really good at their marketing, but I just felt the domestic organic sales were dropping by about 1 or 2% a year in the UK. So it was we were exporting milk to other countries while our own country was importing 40 or 60% of our food in. So it just felt completely wrong. We've really taken the organic ethos and really caught it by the collar, and we really wanted to build that system, the whole system. And what we found was our story was being diluted with someone else's story down the road, or someone else's story in Cumbria, because organic farming, it's a big community in the UK, but this community through online I'm talking with someone in Edinburgh that's doing something similar to what we're doing, but it's all not locally, and local people weren't drinking our product or enjoying our product. So local people, we were getting people neighbouring to the farm, seeing the increase in bees, the increase in wildlife, because we weren't using sprays or fertilisers. But them said people weren't enjoying the products that we were producing on this farm. So it's just sort of connecting the dots really, of telling our story and how we want to do things, and I'm hoping that can grow really.
So so what you've now got is vending machines with your milk, and you're also supplying the local milk grounds.
Yes, that's right.
And you're starting to get inquiries from all over, I understand.
Yes. So yeah, it's getting you getting me to nail me down to this interview is taking a while. Yeah. Because we've just gone so busy. It's a story that people are really buying. So we've got vending machines dotted around locally. If you don't know what a vending machine is, it's you buy your glass bottle, you go to the machine, you then fill up with milk, or we've now also got milkshakes as well, which has really gone well. With the idea of you keep coming back and reusing that milk. So our milk is non-homogenized, gently pasteurized. So it's a very different taste in milk, with the added benefits of being organic, grass-fed. It's a very sweet milk, and so as you said, other outlets are starting to get starting to catch wind of this now. So we're now starting to supply coffee shops, lots of hospitality, because we're making the products that they're already selling better. So they're teas and coffees. Well, I will touch on it. It's a bit like expensive gin. You buy an expensive gin and then chuck any tonic in. Well, people are really catching hold of the idea that now actually the tonic in a gin is 90% of the gin, and it's the same with coffee. If you buy a latte, it can be as organic and single origin and come from one specific farmer in Brazil. But then you'll just pour any milk in, and it's 90% of it is milk. Whereas people are now buying that premium milk that we've got, which is sweeter, higher in the omega-3s, with a story and a great taste, and it's just adding to that quality of their coffee. So we're supplying them guys as well, and we've got a few milk rounds happening. It's going really well.
Fantastic. So there's one other thing that I just want to sort of draw out a little bit more, I suppose, because as you say, I mean, the story of what you're doing with the farm is fascinating, and there's lots of elements to it. But to say that you're farming organically, I think is only a piece of a story that you're telling, in a way that you're talking to you before we came to have a chat on camera. You're putting quite a lot of thought and effort into thinking about the ecosystem as a whole, and you're thinking about things like the water usage, the runoff from the farm, the wildlife in the hedges, whether you might try some patches of more kind of agroforestry or on-farm woodland systems. So you're actually looking at your whole farm system in a holistic ecological way as well. And I know that there's obviously a passion there for that. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about some of that aspect of the farming?
Yeah, once again, it's connecting the dots, and I just haven't got enough time in the day. But yeah, coming to water management, there's certainly been a lot of question online from certain groups on the environment, the environmental impacts of agriculture, and certainly animal agriculture. And we're looking at ironing out some of them questions, really. A big one, certainly for animal agriculture, is water usage and the responsible use of water usage. And we've all seen the figures that it comes up on memes on how many litres of water goes into a kilo of beef versus a kilo of corn or whatever. And that's what we're working on, really. We're obviously in Wales, we've got a high rainfall, and we've got plenty of water in the land. But essentially, that water in the land, deep down, isn't really ours. And what we're looking at doing is we're working with a few other groups as far as rainwater harvesting is concerned. We're looking at taking the pressure off the ground by drawing water out to feed our animals, and actually using it off the roofs of our sheds, our milking parlour and our winter housing, to reduce the pressure not only on extracting water out of the ground, but also take the pressure off rivers and streams. So when we are in these flooding times, high rainfall times, which are ever increasing, we have got some data somewhere that rainfall is increasing in the area because of climate change, which is then creating an issue downstream for flooding. We're very early stages of looking at a full catchment plan with a certain group of reducing pressure on rivers and streams during the big downpours. So that's where we're looking at with rainwater harvesting, is reducing that pressure. But not only that, it's actually benefiting our farm because we're not sucking the water out of the ground. It's coming to us naturally, and then we're taking that on to the next stage, I suppose, because probably a third of our energy use on farm is through pumping water. So it tends to work on a dairy farm. A third of your energy and electricity is on the milking parlour running, a third is through milk cooling, and then the other third is through water pumping. So it tends to work in a three. Yeah, there's bits and bobs, light bulbs and whatever, but they're the big energy users. So we're actually looking at being completely self-sufficient on water from roofs.
Yeah. And
then pumping that water using solar to be completely, well, I suppose, guilt-free.
Yeah.
It's building that full system. We're not there yet, but it's something we're certainly working on, and we're a guinea pig farm as a catchment area, as a catchment-wide approach, and that's the idea, really.
Fascinating. And I'll mention a couple of other things that we talked about that Glen told me about. So another aspect is looking at reducing the vehicle use and handling systems that mean you don't have to use the vehicles around the farm so much.
That's right.
And another one that was really important, that's often forgotten, I think, by the public, but something very important to farming, is the soil and the use and depth of the soil and what you're putting. How you're managing your system so that the soil can benefit as well.
Yeah, so the soil benefits, it's huge. It's bigger than anything we've spoke about so far in this conversation, really. It is everything, it's everything for all life, and we need to look after it. So on farm, and it's clicking in that whole balance, really, of what we're doing, but the soil is number one. It is the main thing. When the first conversation I had when we went into organic was, you need to look at your soil. You need to know what's going on in your soil. You need to repair the damage you've done. That was, and that was a consultant that hadn't even walked the farm. He knew. He said, you're going into organic, look at the soil. He said, you need to repair the damage you've done. He didn't know that I'd done damage, but he knew I did. We were growing lots of maize.
Which inevitably has big impacts.
Massive impact, and that's another conversation. So yeah, looking at the soil and looking at the plants that we grow, we've got a big emphasis now on clovers. Every organic farmer will tell you that clovers is huge. It pulls out carbon from the atmosphere, nitrates from the atmosphere, puts it into the soil, and it also then uses that fuel to grow. So that, you know, it's a huge part of it. Grow lots of red clovers. So we're looking at roots. It's not just what's on top. We're looking at the depth,
Yeah.
and it's that root structure going down. So rather than farming soil this deep, we're looking at a full depth approach, and that then helps with it's getting the whole system going. Then, if that soil is working that depth, it's also collecting carbon from the atmosphere at that depth as well, rather than that depth. So it's just creating that organic matter in the soil, and which then in turns to carbon matter in the soil too. So it's been very careful on the grass selection and the clovers that we grow, while also looking at things like plantain, chicory, which is awesome for soil health.
Yeah.
But it's also amazing for cow health, which pulls back into the full holistic plan, as you said. And that's from doing that now. That's what's enabling us to be fully antibiotic free with our cows. So that's another tag on that. 5-6 years ago, it was insane. Absolutely insane to think about. But it's amazing how our cows have adapted, and also us really, on managing them. But it's the whole approach, as I said before: healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy atmosphere, healthy cows, healthy product.
Healthy farm, healthy environment.
That's right. Yeah. And the long and the short of it is to create a healthy business as well,
Yeah,
for my family to work off. That is the crux of it all.
Yeah.
As lovely as it would be to walk around and not think about money, we've all got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So it's creating that full balance, and going from there, really.
Brilliant. Oh, well, I really appreciate that, Glenn. It's been fascinating. Obviously, as usual, for anybody who's interested, I'll put links at the end of the video to tell you more about Glenn's business, and you can find a link to everything there. So thanks very much.
Good job, thank you.
Good to see you.